I still remember the day I married Chike. The whole village of Umuneke danced that day. My mother was shining like new wrapper, and my father, Chief Nwafo, could not stop smiling. They said I was lucky. Chike was a rich man, a trader in Onitsha who drove a big car and had plenty of workers. People carried chairs and came from far places to eat rice and drink. My father said, Ngozi, you are now a woman. Don't forget where you come from. Make your husband proud. I smiled and nodded. I thought marriage was like a sweet dream that never ends. At first, everything was fine. Chike would buy me gifts and call me my beautiful wife. I cooked for him, washed his clothes, and kept the house clean. But little by little, things started to change. One evening, I made okra soup and he shouted that it was too watery. Before I could talk, his hand landed on my face. I stood there, my cheek hot, my heart beating fast. He later said he was sorry, that work had made him angry. I believed him, but the next time came faster. Sometimes it was because I didn't open the gate quickly. Other times because I forgot to iron his white shirt. Every time he hit me, he would later bring gifts, gold earrings, money, perfume, and I would forgive him. When I told my mother, she said softly, "My daughter, that is how marriage is. No marriage is sweet every day. Endure for your child's sake. Remember the bride price he paid. Your father cannot refund that kind of money." I cried that night. I looked at my small daughter, Amarachi, sleeping beside me. I touched her soft hair and whispered, "My baby, I will not let anyone hurt you." But the pain didn't stop. It grew worse, like rain that never ends. One Sunday after church, Chike got angry because I greeted a man he didn't like. He broke a plate on the floor and pushed me so hard I fell on my side. I felt sharp pain in my stomach. I was pregnant then. I lost the baby that night. When I woke up in the hospital, my hand was full of bandage. My mother was sitting by my bed crying. I looked at her and said, "Mama, I want to go back." She looked at me with tired eyes and whispered, "Ngozi, please. People will laugh at us. We can't return the bride price." I turned my face away. Tears rolled down my cheeks. Right there, I made a quiet promise in my heart. One day I would choose my peace, even if the whole world refused to understand. The day I finally ran away was not planned. I just woke up and something inside me said, "Ngozi, if you don't leave now, you will die here." After I lost the pregnancy, Chike didn't change. In fact, he became worse. He would leave home for days and come back smelling of drink and perfume that was not mine. When I asked, he shouted, "Are you the one feeding me? Don't question me in my own house." Sometimes I wanted to pack my things and go, but I had nowhere to go. My parents would not take me back. They said the bride price was still sitting in their house like a heavy load they could not carry. One evening, Chike came back angry. He said one of his friends told him he saw me talking to another man in the market. I tried to explain that I was only asking for change after buying tomatoes, but he didn't listen. He pushed me so hard that I hit my head on the wall. My daughter, Amarachi, started crying, "Daddy, stop! Don't beat Mummy!" That night after he slept, I sat in the dark, shaking. I looked at Amarachi's small body on the bed. I knew I had to save her, even if I couldn't save myself. I packed a few clothes into a nylon bag, took my daughter's small slippers, and tiptoed out of the house. The air outside was cold, but it felt like freedom. I didn't even know where I was going. I just walked. I prayed quietly, "God, please, don't let him wake up now." I stopped at a small shop by the junction where a woman I knew sold bread. She looked at my face, saw the bruises, and understood without asking. She gave me a bottle of water and said, "Go to Enugu. My sister works with a women's group there. Tell her your story." She even gave me small money for transport. The next morning, I entered a bus to Enugu with Amarachi on my lap. Every time a car horn sounded, my heart jumped. I kept thinking Chike would appear, drag me out, and beat me in front of everyone, but he didn't come. When I reached Enugu, I went straight to the address the woman gave me. It was a big house with a signboard that said Women Rising Foundation. A woman with kind eyes opened the door. She looked at me and said, "My sister, you are safe here." I didn't even know when I started crying. I cried until my head ached. That night, I slept peacefully for the first time in years. No shouting, no fear, just silence. Amarachi held my hand and whispered, "Mummy, are we free now?" I smiled through my tears and said, "Yes, my baby, we are free for now." but deep inside I knew my trouble was not yet over. My family and Chike would come looking for me soon, and I would have to fight, not with fists, but with my voice. I had been in Enugu for 2 weeks when the phone calls started. At first, it was my mother. Her voice was weak, almost begging. "Ngozi, my daughter," she said, "please come back home. Your father is angry. Chike has been coming to our compound every day. The whole village is talking. They say you ran away with another man." I laughed, not because it was funny, but because of how easily people twist stories. I said, "Mama, did you tell them what really happened? That your son-in-law almost killed me?" She sighed. "Ngozi, you know we can't refund the bride price. Your father says if you don't return, our name will be finished." That was when I realized it was not just about me. It was about their pride, the money, the yams, the rappers, the respect that came with marrying their daughter to a rich man. 3 days later, one of my cousins called. "Auntie Ngozi, Papa said you must come for a family meeting on Sunday. If you don't come, they will curse you." I didn't want to go, but the woman who ran the NGO told me, sometimes you have to face the storm before you find peace. So I packed a small bag, dressed Amarashi in her best gown, and took a bus to the village. My heart was beating the whole way. When I entered my father's compound, I saw familiar faces. Uncles, aunties, elders, even the village head. Chike was sitting there too, pretending to look sorry. My father cleared his throat and said, "Ngozi, why are you disgracing this family? Go back to your husband. That is where you belong." I stood there, shaking but bold inside. "Papa, he beats me. I almost died. I lost my baby." The elders murmured. One of them said, "That's not new. Marriage is not sweet every day. You have to endure. No man is perfect." Something inside me broke. I looked around the compound. The same place where I used to play as a child, and I said, "If enduring means dying, then I choose to live." Chike jumped up. "You are still my wife. They haven't returned my bride price." I faced him and said, "You can keep it. Buy peace with it, because I won't be your wife again." The elders shouted. My father raised his walking stick. "Ngozi, you will not talk to a man like that in front of us." I held Amarachi's hand tightly and said, "Papa, if bride price means I must stay in pain, then I curse it. Let it never hold any woman again." The whole place went silent. Even the birds stopped making noise. I turned and walked away, my heart heavy but free. When I got back to Enugu, the NGO women clapped for me. One of them hugged me and said, "You have done what many women only dream of doing." That night, I cried again, not from fear, but from the feeling of being truly alive. Still, I knew it was not the end. Chike would not rest. The village would not keep quiet, but this time I was ready. It didn't take long before Chike started looking for me again. One afternoon, I was washing clothes behind the NGO house when someone knocked on the gate. When I opened it, 2 men stood there wearing dark glasses. One of them said, "Madam, we are looking for Ngozi Nwafor. Her husband sent us." My heart jumped. I quickly shut the gate and ran inside. The other women helped me call the police, but by the time they came, the men were gone. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every sound made me think Chike had found me. The next day, the NGO leader, Auntie Rose, said, "Ngozi, this is no longer just about you. We need to make people hear your story. You have to speak out." I was afraid, but she said something that stayed in my mind. "Silence is how they win. Speak and you will break their power." So I agreed. A week later, a radio station in Enugu invited me to talk about my story. I was shaking when I held the microphone, but when the presenter said, "Ngozi, why did you leave your husband?" something strong rose inside me. I said, "Because I was tired of dying slowly. I was tired of being property bought with money. I want my peace, even if the whole world calls me stubborn." When the interview ended, the phone lines started ringing. Women called in from different places. Some were crying. One said, "Ngozi, I'm proud of you. I have been living like you too, afraid to leave because of bride price." Another said, "You have given me courage." But not everyone was happy. The next morning, I saw my name on Facebook. People from my village calling me a bad wife, saying I was possessed, saying no man should marry a woman like me. My father even called me. His voice was shaking with anger. "Ngozi, you have shamed me. You went on radio to insult our family." I said quietly, "Papa, I didn't insult you. I only told the truth." He hung up. 2 days later, I got a letter from Chike's lawyer. He was taking me to court, claiming I was still his wife because the bride price had not been returned. I sat down and cried, holding Amarachi close. She asked, "Mummy, why are they angry with you?" I said, "Because I chose peace, my baby, and some people don't like when a woman chooses peace." The NGO promised to stand by me. They brought a lawyer and the case became big. Newspapers started writing about it. Woman refuses to return to abusive husband. Bride price debate reopens. Everywhere I went, people were whispering. Some pointed and smiled. Some hissed. But I walked with my head high. I knew this fight was no longer just mine. It was for every woman who had ever cried quietly at night and said, "Maybe this is my cross." That night I prayed again. God, give me strength to finish what I started. And deep inside me, I knew. The storm was only beginning, but I was no longer afraid of rain. The day of the court hearing came like Judgment Day. I wore a plain gown, nothing fancy, just clean and neat. Amarachi held my hand as we walked into the courthouse. The whole place was full. Even reporters came. I could feel people's eyes on me, some pitying me, some judging me. Chike sat on the other side, looking proud and angry. He came with his lawyer and some elders from my village. My father was there too, sitting quietly, his walking stick by his side. He didn't look at me. When it was time for me to speak, my lawyer told me to just tell my story. I stood up, my voice shaking at first. I said everything. How it started sweet, how the first slap came, how it became my daily bread, how I lost my pregnancy, and how my family begged me to go back because of bride price. When I finished, the court was silent. Even the judge, a woman with glasses, looked at me kindly and said, "No human being should live in fear because of culture." The case lasted for weeks. Each day brought new stories, new talks on radio, new arguments about bride price. Some pastors defended the tradition, some women said it should end. But deep inside, I knew this was bigger than tradition. It was about life itself. One morning, my father called me to come home. His voice was softer this time. When I got to the compound, I saw the elders sitting under the big mango tree. My father stood up slowly and said, "Ngozi, I have been thinking. I gave you to Chike because I wanted you to have a good life. But what kind of father watches his daughter suffer and keeps quiet?" I couldn't speak. Tears filled my eyes. He turned to the elders and said, "I, Chief Nwafo, return that bride price today. Not with money, but with my heart. Let this girl go and find peace." The elders murmured, surprised. One of them said, "But Chief," and he raised his hand, "enough. No more bride price that buys sorrow." He poured palm wine on the ground and said a prayer. "Let our daughters never be slaves in the name of tradition." I cried like a child. For the first time, my father hugged me tight. He whispered, "Forgive me, my daughter." After that day, everything changed. The court dismissed Chika's case. The story went everywhere. Newspapers, radio, even schools started talking about it. People called me the woman who broke the chain. A year later, I opened a small centre in Enugu with the help of the NGO. We called it No More Bride Price Foundation. We helped women find shelter, jobs and courage. Sometimes I would sit with them, hold their hands and say, "You are not weak. You just forgot how strong you are." One evening after closing, I sat outside watching the sunset. Amarachi ran to me, laughing, free and happy. She said, "Mummy, are we finally safe?" I smiled and hugged her. "Yes, my child. We are safe and we are free." I looked at the sky and whispered, "Peace doesn't come cheap, but I paid the price and I'm not returning it."